Hi, I'm Mark from L&M Small Engine. Today we were working on a StihlTS 420 chop saw, cement saw. A little background on the saw. It's from a local construction company here in town. Anyways, they had to cut some concrete real quick before the cement truck was coming like that. And at one start, they took the air filter out. It was totally plugged. So they took the air filter out and ran it without an air filter to cut a piece of cement. Anyways, when they got it cut, it just bogged down and died. Anyways, I didn't see it, but they said there's so much cement dust, it actually sealed up the carburetor. So it ain't looking good. I gave it a compression test when it got here, and it has 10 pounds of compression. So I'm sure the cylinder and piston's fried, but they want it fixed. So we're going to tear it apart and put a new piston cylinder in there. So hope you enjoy the video. Okay, this is the way I got it. They had the air filter base off. As you can see, it's packed. It's totally packed. They took it off and it started up, and they ran it without an air filter. And it has the water hookup on it, but I imagine they were cutting it dry. That's what happens. Let's just start tearing it apart so we can get to the cylinder. Throttle linkage is like pressed into the trigger there. So we can just hold the top of the trigger down. We should be able to lift up on that rod. Cement dust is over everything. I'm just gonna hook the on-off wires right here at the coil so we don't have to take this top assembly off here. That way you can keep the whole trigger assembly all complete. I'm gonna go ahead and we'll take the flywheel off. I have to take the whole cutting assembly off so we can get to the muffler and take that off too. So, well, yeah, we'll just start tearing her apart. Okay, we'll loosen up that on the flywheel. And we're not gonna take it off all the way. We're gonna put it so the threads on the shaft are just a little bit in from the nut, and we'll just like gently put a little pry bar back here and put a little pressure on there, and just lightly tap that nut on there. And there we go. That cement dust is everywhere on here. Probably one of the most abused engines on these little 2-cycle things is these chop saw, cement saw engines. They're just constantly around all that cement dust. Okay, let's get we're going here. Don't want to lose our throttle linkage. Look at all that dust coming out of there. And we're tearing these apart. You just gotta take your time. There's a lot of stuff to tear apart on these, but just slowly take it apart so you know how to put it back together again. Just spray a little lubricant on that clutch nut there. Let that soak for a few minutes. A little bit of rust in there. We'll let that soak and we'll continue tearing it apart. And this nut here is a 3/4 inch built-in nut on the clutch there. And I never put a cylinder on one of these TS 420s before, so sometimes they'll have an arrow on here which way it's supposed to go. Well, I'll use the impact. There's more power behind that. You think it'd come off the same way as that nut? Maybe I'll have to spray some more of that stuff on there and let that sit for a few minutes. That's how the other nut came off. So we'll let that sit for a little bit. Okay, it's been a couple of minutes since I sprayed it on there. That pops right off. I'll put that stuff in a separate dish. I like using plastic containers to put all my stuff in, and when you have a big project like this, I like different sections. Okay, it looks like we have to take that belt off next. That nut that might be the tensioner, I imagine. There we go. I don't know why this wire's on here. Take this water line. There we go. Alright. Getting closer. And now let's take that muffler off. Put this in a separate spot. There's a big chunk of piston missing out of the top of that. So it's looks like we gotta take this side plate off here. Next. Must be one behind that rubber boot right there. I don't see nothing under there. There, I'm getting there. So we gotta take these 4 bolts out at the bottom, and it should split apart. But I think I'm gonna take that outside and kind of blow all that cement dust off before we get to the interior part of the engine. So let me go blow it off real quick. Yeah, I blew most of it off that I could get. Okay. There are 4 motor mount bolts there. Better unhook these boots right here, it looks like. We need to unhook this primer line. And when we get this boot off, these intake boots off, we gotta really inspect them for cracks and stuff. Because with a crack or something in there, it'll be sucking air in there too, and it'll run it way lean. Just like pull it apart and just make sure there ain't no cracks and stuff in there. Looks good. Oh, there's a lot of cement dust inside here, so we're gonna have to really clean that out too. Let's see. Part of the rings broke. Almost like a chunk or something got in there and just tore. Like part of that ring's missing. That top ring is part that's missing. You can see something was pogoing around in there. I should have all the parts to this because 2-3 years ago I was going to overhaul one of these, but the guys decided they was going to buy a new one, so I was stuck with all the parts. So let me go check upstairs, see if I have an overhaul kit for one of these. If not, I have to order one, but I'm pretty sure I do have one. But we'll definitely have to get this all cleaned out. It is chunks of cement dust in there. All because I didn't want to blow the air filter out or replace it. That's what happens. Yeah, I went upstairs. I do have the overall kit for it, for a TS 420. So that's cool. And even got a new air filter for it. Like I said, I was supposed to do one a while back, but they decided to junk it out and buy a new one. I don't even know how much these are new anymore. I'm sure they're over $1,000. Overhauling it, I know it's way less than half. Let's go ahead and pull this piston off so I'm gonna really clean the inside of that crankcase out. Make sure there ain't no debris in there at all. Pop that little pin out. Right there. And there we go. That don't even look bad. That roller bearing, but I'm gonna clean everything up really good. I'm probably not gonna split this. I have the gaskets for this, but I don't think I'm even gonna split that, tell you the truth. Just clear it out real good and make sure them needle bearings are nice and clean too. And get this back together again and start chopping cement up again. So anyway, it's lunchtime now. I'm gonna take a lunch break, and after lunch we'll go ahead and pop this back together again. Okay, the first thing I'm gonna do is take this decompression lever off the old head It's like a 13 millimeter. And we're going to put it on our new cylinder head. Snug that really tight. Okay, now our new piston. We're going to go ahead and put the rings on that. Okay, on these rings, you see where it's beveled out on the bottom. Then on the piston, there's a pin right here for the bottom ring and a pin right here for the top ring. Well, that bevel spot goes around them pins. And you got to be careful putting these on. They don't want to break these rings. It's happened to me before. It's not fun. And see how that beveled spot goes around that pin? So now we'll do the top one now. There's a bevel like that. It'll go around that pin like that. Like so. And there's a couple different ways of putting these pistons on the rods. On the single, this is what I like to do. On the single ring one, I go ahead and connect the rod because the bottom of the cylinders are kind of tapered. But the luck I have on the two ring ones, I get the top one lined up, and in the process of doing that, the bottom one gets out. The bottom one likes moving over like that. If you're not careful with that, you put it like that, you'll put a big old scratch on your cylinder. So this is my way of doing the two ring ones. Some people might not agree with it, but for me it's the easiest. You can do it whatever way is more comfortable for you. When I like putting these together, I like using a bunch of WD-40. To me, WD-40 is your friend. Get some sprayed up there in the cylinder. Get everything all nice and wet. Okay, on these pistons, there's an arrow on top of the piston that's always pointed toward the exhaust. Because when you do that, if it turns the other way, where these rings connect, it will come across one of them holes and it'll just tear everything up. So they made it so with the arrow up, that's towards the exhaust. And this is the way it's going to be sitting inside the chop saw. There's your exhaust port and there's your intakes. So what I do, get this top ring all lined up, and I'm going to go ahead and push that in here. Then get the bottom one lined up and push that in there just far enough so I can still get my pin in there. Before I do that, I'm going to put one of them locks and clips. I'm going to put that in on one side before we even get started on this. Like I said, some people like putting that right on the rod, then press the cylinder on top. For single rings, I do that all the time, but for some reason when I do the two ring ones, just that little bit of movement gets everything out of line. It's just a lot harder, for me anyway, to get it lined up. This way I know all the rings are set and they're perfect. So we're going to go like this. So I'm going to go ahead and put the clip on this side in. There's the exhaust. So sorry, I ain't be able to see too much just with the camera. Get a better pair of needle nose here. I like starting this loose end in first, then like spin it around. Just be patient. You don't want to lose that clip. There, popped into place. All right, take it and just like spin it. Make sure you got it in that groove. Okay. Take a clean paper towel and just make sure it's all nice and clean. All right, so I got that top ring lined up. Arrows pointing towards the exhaust. There, I got the top ring started. So it fits nicely around that pin right there. There's a pin on the bottom one right there. I'm going to squeeze, get them lined up. You see it ain't quite lined up. There we go. Turn a little bit. Just keep it out far enough where you can get that pin in there. Just like that. That's why I know. That's how I know the rings are in there perfect around them pins, because I turned it and looked at it. That's the way I like doing it. But like I said, there's other ways. Like there's many roads that always lead to the same thing. Just as long as you find the road that you like, do it that way. And that's the way I like doing it. So let's go ahead and set this up here now. And just take your time doing this. There ain't no race doing this. My philosophy is do it right the first time and you don't have to do it again. Okay, I blew this out. I sprayed carburetor cleaner and clean everything out. Just blew it out. Take a little WD-40, put it on them bearings on the crank. And there's the one for the piston. I didn't replace it because it actually looks really good. A little lubricant on there. Get that put in there like that. So we put that clipping on this side here. So all we gotta do is get this everything lined up, and we'll put our new pin in. Let me get on the other side so I can see which way to go here. Okay, I got it started. Just take a Phillips screwdriver and push it in all the way. And just be careful so you don't pull the cylinder off the piston. And all I gotta do now is put that other pin clip in there. Well, you can see as best I can. It's hard having the camera there and your hands are in the way. People are saying, well, I can't see. So I'll at least get that started in that clip first. Unless you drop the doggone thing, you gotta get the magnet now. Okay, I found the clip again. Everything gets in place. No, not quite. Almost had it. So I guess this part here would be like a downfall doing it this way. At least you know the rings and the pins are in the perfect spot, I guess. Did I get it that time? Okay, let me find the bolts to mount it up. This base gasket here and make sure it's lined up. Push that down like that. And grab the 4 bottom motor mount bolts here. I'm gonna keep pressure on that cylinder head. Too carried away on torquing them down. I want to make sure the base gasket's all good and everything there. Just gonna grab the flywheel here and just kind of turn the crank there. So you just want to feel it, make sure there ain't no hang-ups anywhere. You know, before you torque it down. That way, if something's hanging up, you can easily take everything apart. Everything felt good, so let's go ahead and torque them 4 bolts down. Now it's time to put this bad boy all back together again. It's a lot harder than doing a chainsaw, but there's a lot more stuff on a chop saw there is a chainsaw. But okay, we got that all done. So now we can start putting everything all back together again. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put this intake boot back on. And when you put these on, this here, it goes towards the bottom. That's what goes for this vacuum hose. And that goes in that hole there, and that goes to the carb. That's what makes your fuel pump diaphragm work inside of the carburetor. I'm gonna blow this off real quick, make sure there ain't no cement dust on it. And like I said before, make sure you check it. Make sure there ain't no cracks or nothing there. I just set a spark plug in here just so we don't get no debris down the cylinder. I don't got it there tight, just sitting there. Get that pressed down there, make sure it's on all the way. Just look all around it, make sure it's looks good to me. Let's go ahead and tighten them down. Okay, we'll put that vacuum hose on. Look at your vacuum hose, make sure there ain't no cracks on that too. Okay, we got that step done. Now, We gotta get this put in here. And this little vent right here, that's gonna go in this hole right here once we get it lined up. We'll start by putting that screw in that top vibration spring right there. As you can see, that spring's kind of bent a little bit. Okay, get that one there lined up. Okay, all right, well, we can do the muffler next. A lot of debris in here. I'm gonna go ahead and clean that off. Blow it off real good. Probably all that cement powder burning through there. Find my new gasket, the exhaust gasket. Where did I put that? Put the new exhaust gasket on there. And get them started. Get this bottom screw in there. Now, that rubber boot I was talking about. Don't want to tear it. We got to pry it up through there so it locks up in there. There we go. And just push the inside in until it locks. Like so. Now I need to put them 3 bolts in there. I guess I need to take these out. That's what kind of splits the case. But this is the first time I ever put a cylinder on one of these 420s. So gonna do it, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago, but they decided on buying a new one. So I'm gonna clean some of that cement dust off of that. Got one more screw to put in, looks like here too. So I said, just take your time. Take your time. And then this flywheel, there's a keyway built into it. And always make sure that's in good shape, because sometimes, you know, if this thing ever backfires some, it will like tear them keys out of there. So get the nut here. All right. Now I think we can probably start putting that cutter on the front now, I believe. Well, we got one more anti-vibration mount to put on there. Get that popped in there. There we go. Didn't have it on there quite straight. I can put these bolts back in over here. Okay, did I see anything else we need to do on the bottom here? I'm just basically looking around it, make sure I'm getting all the bolts put in it. Okay, I guess we're ready for the front of it. That goes down there. And check your belt, make sure there ain't no crack. You know, there's cracks or something in there. It's probably a good time is all to replace it, but looks like it's in real good shape. Now let's put that clutch in there. And the spacer. And get the 3/4. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and use a tension nut on the belt. There we go. Make sure your clutch is spinning good. Now this here, it has a place right where that 3/4 inch hex head there will insert in there. So make sure you get it in there. You want to put it on so it's on top. Get it put in there. And that's a 1/2 inch. Water hook up on the bottom. I think now might as well concentrate on hooking all this up here real quick. Okay, we'll get that carburetor bolted on now. I'm gonna go ahead and clean it off there real good. And the little brass pins will get pushed in. Make sure they're all nice and tight. We gotta run them wires for the on-off switch there. And the red one was on the outside, I think. Now we'll grab that linkage. There's like a little hook right there so it don't fall down. I'll go ahead and lower it. Tighten that plug down real quick. Get that hooked up on that lever there. Okay. Now we'll find that cover that goes on top there. Oh, let's probably put that air filter assembly and everything on there next. Okay, now we gotta put the recoil on and stuff. Almost got it. So our next step is put some fuel in there, see if we can get it started. Okay, put some brand new fuel in there. Push the decompression button. Put it on start. Well, it runs. After I turn the camera off, I'm gonna put it on fast idle and set it outside. Let it run like about 15 minutes, like break it in really good. After like about 10 minutes, put on fast idle for like 30 seconds, let it off, and back and forth a few times. Just make sure it breaks everything in. But I appreciate you watching the video. Hope you liked it. And if you like it, please push the like button and please subscribe. Anyways, you have a good afternoon. Bye.